So thank you so much once again for inviting me and to talk about something which is a particular topic I'm really fond about, and I've been working on this for the past 10 years. But moving from another area, which is awakening to languages, which I think has many potential connections with global citizenship. So I would like to start with a background to this presentation. In the past 2 decades, you probably heard about global citizenship education more. And this is because it has gained increasing attention, either from international organizations such as UNESCO, researchers, practitioners have been talking and discussing global citizenship education. It's sort of become of a buzzword in education and practice. And also mainly research has been underlining the relevance of educating children early on as global citizens to promote their empathy, respect, and appreciation for diverse cultures, as well as to develop this sense of shared responsibility for the well-being of others. However, for many early years educators, global citizenship education remains this obscure and somehow theoretical construct that revolves around complex or sometimes sensitive themes that are difficult to grasp by young children. So considering this context, the goal of this presentation is to demonstrate how awakening to languages, which is a multilingual approach with a long tradition in Europe, fits exceptionally well as a pedagogy for global citizenship in early childhood. To develop this argument, this presentation will start with an overview of global citizenship education and awakening to languages in early childhood education. And then I'll present a concrete example from practice that shows the contribution of awakening to languages in promoting children's cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral skills, which are fundamental dimensions of global citizenship. I will end with some recommendations that are more suggestions for teachers concerning the integration of multilingual pedagogies for global citizenship in earliest classroom and some concluding remarks. So I'd like to start by addressing two questions. What is global citizenship and why is it relevant today? Due to the globalized and interdependent nature of our world, we cannot think of citizenship in the same way as we did before, so as being limited to a specific country or territory. A broader understanding of citizenship is needed, one that is based on a sense of belonging to a common humanity. This global citizenship means that everyone, irrespective of age, gender, race, socioeconomic background, is responsible for fighting against prejudice and injustice, defending human rights, and protecting planet Earth. And this requires new pedagogical approaches and more ambitious learning goals that are focused on the development, for instance, of critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, respect for diversity, social responsibility, and starting from the early years onwards. So it's in line with this cause that global citizenship education has emerged as this possibility to help learners deal with the challenges, but also the opportunities that are presented by this constantly changing, interdependent, and multicultural world. Global citizenship education has multiple interpretations, but I consider it to be best defined as a transformative pedagogy that enables individuals to reflect critically on the world and their place in it, and that empowers them to understand, imagine, and hope, which I think is a very important word, hope in the world of despair and changes and global issues. Hope is quite important. So I think that it fits in this definition of global citizenship. So empowering people to understand, imagine, hope, and act to bring about a world of social and climate justice, peace, solidarity, equity and equality, planetary sustainability, and international understanding. So global citizenship education involves respect for human rights and diversity, inclusion, and a decent life for all now and into the future. So this idea of sustainability. So GC really nurtures this respect and solidarity in learners and children to help them become global citizens who are aware of the wider world, the respect and value diversity, and also they work with others to make the world a more equitable and a sustainable place. UNESCO identifies three core conceptual dimensions for GCE, which are based on the three domains of learning, so cognitive, social-emotional, and behavioral. The cognitive dimension focuses on developing knowledge and understanding about global and local issues and about the interconnectedness of different countries and people. The social-emotional dimension includes attitudes, feelings, emotions, and social skills that enable learners to see themselves as belonging to this common humanity, the sharing values and responsibilities. And finally, the behavioral dimension is linked to learners' engagement, to their ability to act effectively and responsibly at local and global levels for a more peaceful and sustainable world. Well, when we are looking at this seems to be quite daunting endeavor to carry out with young children. Yet when we think about early childhood education context, this is a crucial context for preparing children as rightful global citizens to lead peaceful lives and sustainable lifestyles that support collective well-being. So drawing on recent research, we can present the following reasons for introducing global citizenship education in early childhood. First, GC really develops a sense of belonging and empathy. Early childhood education is a critical period for shaping a child's sense of identity and belonging. We introduce children to the concept of global citizenship, and they learn that they are part of a larger and a wider world community. And this understanding of being part of a wider world community really promotes their empathy, their respect, their appreciation for diverse cultures, diverse perspectives. It helps them develop a sense of shared responsibility also for the well-being of others. Then GCE fosters cultural awareness and understanding. Through activities that promote global citizenship education, children learn different traditions, different languages, and this expands their horizons. It also challenges stereotypes, helps them appreciate cultural diversity, and they become more open-minded. They develop this ability to engage with people from diverse backgrounds, which is important both globally and locally. GCE also promotes peace and conflict resolution. Through GCE, children learn peaceful ways to resolve conflicts that emphasize dialogue, cooperation, rather than violence and aggression. And by nurturing these values from an early age, children are more likely to grow as active contributors to harmonious communities and know what to do when they are facing potential situations of conflict. GCE also encourages environmental stewardship. Through GCE, children learn that their actions have an impact on the planet, and they develop a sense of responsibility towards the environment. And this early awareness really cultivates friendly behaviors. They help children become more conscious global citizens and protect the planet for future generations. And finally, GC prepares children for the globalized world. So it promotes the development of critical thinking, collaboration, communication, problem-solving skills, which are vital for navigating this diverse and complex world, enable them to approach and also to engage global issues effectively. So in short, we can say that by integrating global citizenship education in early childhood, it can nurture responsible, engaged, socially conscious individuals who are equipped to contribute positively to their communities and make a difference on a global scale. However, what we see happening in early childhood education is that GC is often neglected, mainly because educators consider children to be incapable of fully comprehending the concepts involved. However, we have a lot of research telling us that children are already active citizens. They are capable of responding critically to global challenges when given appropriate resources and opportunities for involvement. More specifically, several studies suggest that children in early childhood can see themselves as members of a much larger global community. They can seek solutions to local and global problems such as responsible consumption of goods, protection of the environment, and all forms of life, and defense of human rights. And one thing which I think is very interesting is that children really possess an inborn sense of justice and forthrightness. They always tell us that something is fair or not fair. So this makes them natural agents for change. So I think that it is important to investigate what are the most appropriate approaches that can help us educate children as global citizens. And from my point of view and from my experience also with multilingual pedagogies, I think that awakening to languages can really fill this gap and be an appropriate approach to global citizenship education. Awakening to language is a pedagogical approach that focuses on promoting contact with linguistic diversity from a very young age. And it is an approach that has roots in a specific movement of the 1980s, the language awareness movement, which was led by Harry Hawkins in Britain, and aimed at remedying the difficulties that British pupils had in reading and writing in the language of schooling and in learning other languages. So LA activities included observing and analyzing languages, playing word games, reflecting on the function of grammatical structures. And through this type of activities, which are centered on children reflecting explicitly about language and on what Hawkins called the re-education of the ear, this really helps pupils develop their metalinguistic and metacognitive awareness, which are important for children to process oral and written messages in their first languages with greater ease, as well as to learn other languages with greater confidence. So the main goals of Awakening to Languages were to challenge pupils to ask questions about language and language diversity, and to free themselves from this parochialist view of their L1. And this also encourages a respectful attitude towards diversity. So language awareness did not have the necessary institutional recognition in the United Kingdom, but this movement was taken up in various European countries under the name of Awakening to Languages. So Awakening to Languages draws on the principles of language awareness, but goes one step further by assuming itself as a multilingual and pluralistic approaches in which the learner works on several languages or cultures simultaneously. And those languages include the languages of schooling, the foreign, local, minority languages taught in the target context, but also, and this is an innovative thing, is that it includes languages that are not intended to be taught in school, which could be the mother tongues of some of the pupils, some heritage languages, or even unrelated languages, such as, for instance, endangered languages. So ATL, one important thing to bear in mind is that ATL is not about learning languages or a multitude of languages, but learning about languages. And when children are learning and asking questions about languages, we are stimulating their curiosity and their interest in languages and cultures from a very young age. We're developing their observation, their language analysis skills. We are broadening their language culture, and we are fostering this open attitude towards diversity, linguistic, cultural diversity, and therefore preparing them from actions and situations of intercultural dialogue and giving them the tools to be responsible citizens. One thing worth mentioning, if you're seeing this webinar from other parts of the world than Europe, is that ATL has institutional support in Europe, particularly through education policies and initiatives that both national governments and European institutions are developing. And the ATL approach really aligns closely with the European Union's policies on language learning and multilingualism, and their idea of multilingualism being a key objective to support language diversity in Europe and promote learning of at least 2 foreign languages from a young age. So for language education policymakers, ATL provides a sort of a pedagogical framework for early exposure to diverse languages, which will lead then children to develop language learning and to learn at least 2 foreign languages from a young age. Below you can see only 2 examples of European policy documents that really aim to support institutions, but also teachers and educators to integrate pluralistic approaches into the curriculum. I know this is not the case in other parts of the world. This is why I'm stressing it for Europe. But how does this work in practice? So how do we use awakening to languages to promote global citizenship in the classroom? I've been talking very theoretically, very rhetorically, but now I wanted to show you an example from practice. And I decided to show you a full project. So not an array of separate activities, because I felt it would help you see how to integrate global citizenship in early childhood education using ETL, and in order to promote these different dimensions of global citizenship education. And this project was conducted by Vera Silva, which is one of my master's students. She's an experienced EFL teacher. And at the time, she was working in a residential care home as a volunteer. And she's thought that children that are at these residential care homes do not often have opportunities to contact with different languages or to be involved in this type of projects. So she felt that she needed to do this with children and for this group of children. So the study that we developed was to understand the contribution of ATL in the development of attitudes, values, and skills that are conducive to global citizenship and positive peace. Participants were a group of children aged 3 to 6 who were living in this care home, which was run by a religious congregation in Portugal. So the innovative nature of the study is actually the fact that it focused on vulnerable children who, according to research, are at a higher risk of facing and developing extreme and discriminatory views. So this group of children participated in 13 sessions over the course of 5 months in this project titled A House Where We All Fit In. And this project addressed children's perspectives about themselves and about the world regarding topics related to preferences, their experiences, their emotions. And the project used as strategies these multilingual teaching pedagogies, so awakening to languages with songs, books, and games in different languages. For instance, Spanish, English, French, Italian, Swahili, Ukrainian, and Russian. And also something which is very interesting, which is virtual exchanges with children in Colombia and Tanzania, which were living in similar institutions. I have to take a little pause to drink some water. Okay, so what happened was that the activities were developed in Portugal by the researchers and also 4 sisters in the residential care home. And each of the sisters in Portugal had a different nationality, so Portuguese, Spanish, Colombian, and Italian. And similar activities were also developed in similar institutions in Colombia and Tanzania with children aged between 3 and 6. And these were carried out by a Colombian sister and a Kenyan sister in Tanzania. And the sessions were actually divided into 4 stages. And during stage 1, which was titled My World, Eat, Play, Feel, children made drawings about their emotions and about their preferences. So I'm afraid of, I'm sad when, I'm happy when, and their preferences. So my favorite food is, I love playing with. So the idea was for children to realize that they have connections with children in other parts of the world who might like and enjoy the same things or fear the same things as they do. Then the children recorded an individual presentation video in their first language where they describe themselves and their favorite food, what they loved playing with. So an individual presentation that was supposed to be shared with the children in Colombia and Tanzania. So they exchanged also the drawings and the videos. And then they had 2 virtual sessions with the children to meet and talk to them. Then stage 2 was titled The World Out There and included group conversations and child-oriented activities such as preparing a fruit salad. And this activity was based on the salad bowl metaphor, so a way of describing multiculturalism in society and the idea that each culture contributes with a specific flavor to the whole without blending into a single uniform identity. Then they also listen to songs in different languages, and they watch short films also in different languages and played games. And one of the games, just wanted to give you an example because there were many more, was What That Flies. So children, in this game, children heard the name of a fruit in a foreign language, and then they had to spot the fruit image lying on the table and corresponding to the word they had listened to and splat it with a fly swat. So they really enjoyed this activity, and it allows them to use this re-education of the ear and paying attention to words in another language. Then in stage 3, the children explore the picture book. Here we are. I think that some of you might know this book by Oliver Jeffers. They explore this in Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, French, and English, which were the languages spoken by some of the sisters and the children in the 3 care homes, and Welsh, which was one of the languages of the English bilingual version of the book. The books were read by the researchers or the sisters, and except for the Welsh version, which was played as a YouTube video. I have to stop once again. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the book, this is a really beautifully illustrated book that introduces the wonders of Earth and universe to a newborn child. And the book explores topics like the land, the sea, the animals, humans, and really emphasizes this idea of taking care of others and taking care of the planet, the importance of understanding our place in the world. So it serves as a sort of a guide for life. And children really enjoyed it. I have a 5-year-old and she loves the story. She said it's an important book because she likes the message of the book. And Oliver Jeffers' books are important books, and Peter Reynolds' books are as well. So she really enjoys books that have a particular message. Then in stage 4, the children made and decorated a cardboard house, which was meant as a pet metaphor for planet Earth. So decoration was made by the children with all the drawings made during stage 1. And they also included arts and crafts related to nature, as well as words written in the participants' languages. The roof of the house was covered by the sky and the stars on one side depicting night, the sun and some clouds on the other side picturing day, and a thank you note in the languages used in the exchange. This common home had no doors and was open to everyone. So they built a bridge with the word peace written in different languages, including Afrikaans, Bengali, Romani, and Turkish, as a sign of respect to the people the sisters had met during their missions. So I think it's very interesting, and this is why I put the description here. Then data was collected via questionnaires and self-assessment sheets and field notes. The questionnaires were filled by the children before and after the project with support of the researcher. And they had to express their agreement or disagreement with 13 statements. One of the statements, for instance, was all children in the world should speak the same language. And they had to say if they agree, neither agree or disagree that this was displayed with emoticons. At the end of each stage, the children also completed a self-assessment sheet concerning the languages they liked the most, what they learned, and what they wanted to know or do. So each language was, each child was asked to express their opinion through drawings. So they drew and then the researcher took notes of what they verbalized. Field notes were also taken during and after each session to describe and reflect on the children's participation, their levels of engagement and performance in the activities. So the results from the analysis of these instruments suggest that children really develop their awareness of language and linguistic diversity. their empathy and openness to diversity. They develop their willingness to learn. They show them willingness to learn languages in the future. They increase their self-awareness, their confidence, their optimism, and develop communication and collaboration skills. And here are some of the things they said. So one of the childish children, Buwana, who is a child from Tanzania, loves chips like me. So realizing that we can like and enjoy the same things regardless of where we come from. I didn't know one could play with tires. So just like the Tanzanian children said that they like to play with tires, and they said, oh, I didn't like one could play with tires. And then they asked some of the sisters if they could bring tires and play with tires. So develop this sort of empathetic behavior and openness to diversity. See how nice the salad is. We are excellent cooks. So for most of these children who are in very vulnerable environments, it is important to develop their self-confidence and their self-esteem. And we show that these activities really develop their confidence in themselves. It is very good to have several fruits together so that we can taste them all instead of eating just one. It tastes better. So this was after the activity with the salad, making the fruit salad. And we can see that they realize, of course, it is good to be different, and the difference also brings something better, which is tasting this fruit salad. Other things that they said. When the researcher asked them, do we all speak the same language? Well, they said, well, some children speak English, some speak Spanish, some speak Italian, Portuguese, French, Russian, Ukraine, they can say Ukrainian, and that is okay. So it's okay to speak a different language. And all children in the world can be friends because they all like to play. Ultimately, all children want to be happy, and that's something, happiness is something that came up in their drawings a lot and in their conversations. And what did they learn? I learned about what exists here in the countries, what's on planet Earth. So this global awareness, when the day comes, when the night comes, the countries, I learned all the animals I did not know, and I learned everything because, you know, if you see in the book from Oliver Jeffers, it has a page where there are many different animals, and children really enjoy learning the names of all these animals. I learned that we should help others and not argue with each other. So here's the idea of peace and conflict resolution, which also came up. So I would like to share next with you are some recommendations for teachers. I do not like the word, I'm not very comfortable with the term recommendations. So maybe suggestions or things to bear in mind when you are integrating awakening to languages in the early years to promote global citizenship. And these recommendations, of course, are not meant to be prescriptive or exhaustive. They're just meant as suggestions so that you can continually update and expand these suggestions as you go along. So my first suggestion would be to support children in investigating and reflecting upon their own linguistic and cultural identity. It's important that children realize who they are, where they come from, what is their background, which languages they speak, they've heard speaking, they like to learn. So these two examples could be activities that they could use. For instance, drawing their linguistic biography here on the right. We have those flowers with smiley flowers, and they can write on the petals the names of the languages that they speak or they're heard of, or seen written, or would like to learn. And then they could build a whole tree, so the language garden of the class. And another idea is the language portrait, which helps children become aware of the multilingualism within themselves. We can see that this girl is very multilingual. So through these activities, children really gain the sense of self-esteem, so realizing that their languages are valuable, and they develop attitudes of respect towards other languages and other speakers. Sorry. Another recommendation is to provide children with opportunities to understand the socioeconomic differences there are between groups of people, as well as to appreciate the lives of people in various ethnic groups in our multicultural societies. You can do this by reading books about different ways of living or participating in virtual exchanges, just like the example that I've shown you before. And this helps children develop word knowledge. So another recommendation would be to help children make links with prior knowledge. I'm sorry, I've been having a cold for the past days and it's coming again, sorry. So help children make links with prior knowledge, pay attention to the similarities and differences between languages at various levels. So during this Weight of the Fly Swat game, it was very interesting for children to become aware of the phonological differences and similarities between languages. And this helps children develop metalinguistic skills. And these have been shown to support language learning, not only their own language, but also other languages. Important also is to involve the family and other community members in Awakening to Languages activities. So we can invite parents and caretakers to read books in their own language, share a life story like the examples here above, or prepare a traditional dish. For instance, when I was working with young children, I asked parents to come and share Easter traditions. And it's very interesting because children love to see their parents coming to school and supporting them. And it's also helped validate their own languages. And finally, one thing which is very important is to promote this learning environment, one that is democratic and dialogical. So an example practice is to use circle time as a safe space for children to voice their own opinions, to collaborate, and to imagine solutions to pressing issues at global and global scales. So I'm drawing to the conclusion. I'm sorry, I'm just here coughing a lot, but I'm concluding. So I think that there's no universal agreement on how global citizenship education can be conceived or implemented. We have research evidence telling us that this could be promoted from the early years on. And the example that I showed you suggests how Awakening to Languages can create these well-nourished roots from the first years onwards, and they can really open ears and hearts to the diversity of languages and cultures. So from my point of view, ATL configures this new vision of education, where languages are not only instruments to master, but are doors and windows that can help children develop and discover other worldviews. They can nurture respect for diversity and foster social engagement. So to conclude, I'd like to say that I'd like to encourage you to embrace this vision with open minds and hearts. I think that our role in shaping young learners goes beyond teaching basic skills. It's basically about planting seeds of curiosity, like Hawkins said, that will blaze further on, seeds of curiosity, of empathy, of respect for others. So I'd like to invite you to continue and to plant these seeds and help children grow into individuals who really appreciate and engage with the diverse world around them. So these are some suggestions for reading. And here are some of the references and other useful reading materials. And thank you very much. I end with this picture, which is from one of my student teachers. So it's also important that future teachers develop this awareness of themselves. So this is how she portrayed her linguistic biography by saying that something, and she realized that she not only spoke Portuguese and English, but also other languages, and become aware of this multilingualism, which helps her to validate and to respect multilingualism in her future classrooms. So thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy this presentation. Looking forward for the questions.